Inspector Gadget! Of the 47 victims and trash bags the Miami Coast Guard recovered at the Bay Harbor Butcher's dump site, the only thing most of them had in common was a complete lack of non-organic evidence. Save for a few rocks to weigh the bags down, almost none of the butcher's victims were sent to their watery grave with any kind of clothing, tools, murder weapons, or personal items of any kind. All save for one trash bag in particular, which, upon further examination, contained one arm that was biomechanically attached to a robotic claw. Being the only inorganic piece of evidence to work on, it is not long at all before the robotic hand is identified as belonging to none other than billionaire, global terrorist, and known murderer of at least one scientist, Dr. Claw, missing ringleader of the malevolent agency of destruction, or as it is also more simply known, MAD, M-A-D. This news comes as quite a shock to one Inspector Gadget, Metro City's $6 million cyborg project, whose design and sole life purpose has been to dismantle the MAD and bring Dr. Claw to justice. When Chief Quimby briefs Gadget of the news, Gadget's jaw literally falls off his face, and he doesn't have to be told twice to take the Gadget-mobile as well as his trusty niece Penny and her loyal companion Brain all the way to Miami to confirm Miami Metro's findings. Before the Gadget crew actually arrive in Miami, however, we have to take a moment to talk about, as unsexy as it sounds, well, police jurisdiction. Yes, I know this is a Dexter versus video, and the last thing you probably want to hear right now is legal questions over cross-state investigative authority, but truth be told, this is actually kind of an important question, because I've got to be honest here, I don't think Inspector Gadget is actually a real cop. That sounds insane, I know, but in doing the research on the original cartoon for this video in particular, I discovered the absence of certain things from the original run of the Inspector Gadget show that left me with some somewhat concerning questions in regards to Gadget's status as not only a police officer, but, well, honestly, even as a real human being. Did you know that Inspector Gadget never had an origin episode? The pilot episode of the series starts out with Gadget, Penny, and Brain foiling a mad plot to ruin the Olympics. They just kind of throw you into the world and its characters with no explanation of how they got there, and it never changed. In the entire show's 86-episode run, Inspector Gadget's life prior to his current cyborg existence isn't mentioned even once. And not only that, in all those episodes, Gadget never once actually cooperates with a real police officer. Yeah, that sounds kind of insane in retrospect, but in all the crimes Gadget has traveled around the world to stop, Gadget never collaborated with detectives, he never interviewed a witness inside a police station, he was never seen investigating an active crime scene or working with real police officials. The only real police officer Gadget ever interacts with is Chief Quimby, who, very suspiciously, is constantly sending him hidden messages or meeting with Gadget in total secret, like some kind of Cold War-era spy, instead of just giving him orders from behind a police desk like any other normal police chief would. At first I wondered, what's this guy's deal? Why all the secrecy? And then it dawned on me. Quimby is just a police chief, and Gadget travels all over the world to stop Dr. Claw. I don't think these missions Quimby always sends Gadget on are strictly on the books, or possibly even legal. Hell, without a real origin episode, or at least the passing mention of one, I'm not entirely convinced Inspector Gadget isn't just some android struggling to be human like Lieutenant Data. But one thing's for sure, whether Gadget is a real cop or not, he certainly doesn't have the authority to just barge in and take over a nationally sensational multiple homicide investigation. Even the 1999 Disney version of the character wasn't a real cop before his transformation. He was just some security guard that got blown up during a robotic foot robbery, then got turned into a crime-fighting robot as a publicity stunt for the mayor. So even that version of the character would be way outside his jurisdiction all the way out here in Miami. This means, surprisingly, despite Inspector literally being in his name, Gadget actually doesn't have complete unfiltered access to the crime scenes and evidence like you would expect. He's a complete outsider here, and I highly doubt Matthews or LaGuerta would so easily accept Gadget's hand-waved authority as anything concrete or official. That said, Gadget won't be completely in the dark, because even though he might not be able to work on the case in an official police capacity, he will most certainly be a valuable cooperating witness in regards to Dr. Claw, who at this point in the investigation is still probably the only body whose identity has been confirmed among the other victims. That at least gives someone like Deborah or Angel occasional enough reason to keep Gadget around the station a while, or at least keep him moderately involved in the investigation to a very limited extent. But honestly, this is probably the worst thing Deborah or Angel could do, because trying to find useful information out of Inspector Gadget is a complete waste of time. Gadget is, and has always been, somewhat of an incompetent moron. While Deb and Angel waste time chasing non-existent leads based off of Gadget's wild tale of a grand conspiracy involving a shake-up in leadership within MAD, or something to that effect, Dexter will have all the time in the world to cover his tracks and tie up any loose ends that could lead back to him. Or at least, so he thinks. If Dexter were dealing with Inspector Gadget and just Gadget alone, this would be the end of the investigation right here. As there's no way in hell Gadget will be able to stumble onto any meaningful evidence whatsoever, even with Miami Metro's help. But as any real Gadget fan knows, the real hero is almost never Gadget himself. The real threat here is Penny and Brain, who both seem inconsequential enough at first glance to completely fall under both Miami Metro's and Dexter's radar, which is a terrible miscalculation on our dear dark friend's part that will ultimately lead to his unraveling. True, Penny and Brain are just a little girl and a dog, but they follow Gadget everywhere, which means no one in Miami Metro, including Gadget himself, will be paying much attention to them as they stealthily snoop around the homicide department, sneaking quick glances at the evidence they need while no one is paying attention, and make real investigative progress completely unbeknownst to anyone actually taking part in the investigation, including Dexter. After all, between reeling from the death of his brother, the ongoing investigation, Rita, Lila, why the hell would Dexter give some kid and her dog that's hanging around the bullpen a second thought? Penny and Brain appear almost completely invisible to Dexter. But the reverse, however, is not true. Even if Penny fails the vibe check and doesn't pick up anything odd about Dexter's behavior, Brain almost certainly will, as he is a dog after all. And as we know, almost all animals are instinctively threatened by Dexter's predatory aura. So the moment Brain picks up something strange about the energy Dexter puts out, that'll be all the reason Penny needs to dig just a little deeper. And whether it's just tracking down his actual family history, or just following him around until they witness something truly disturbing, it's only a matter of time before Penny and Brain uncover the truth. And Dexter's days left as the butcher will be very shortly numbered. Though it's true that from an actual crime-solving standpoint, Gadget himself is completely incompetent, but from a crime-stopping standpoint, Inspector Gadget is kind of unstoppable. He may have zero brain cells, but he's got about as much metal and hardware inside him as a totally chromed out cyber psycho like Atom Smasher. Tranquilizers and jujitsu aren't exactly going to be much help here. I mean, look at this dude! He has less flesh left on him than the RoboCop reboot! Even if Gadget weren't human at all, and both him and Brain were considered acceptable targets within Harry's code, I don't think Dexter even has the tools necessary to cut through Gadget's metal limbs! Not that it would matter much anyway, because I don't think Gadget even has veins or blood for the tranquilizer Dexter uses to work on! Gadget might not be able to find the lead himself, but the moment Penny and Brain find out the truth, all they have to do is gaslight and manipulate their robotic uncle in the right direction. And from there, there's really nothing Dexter can do. Not even run, because we've clearly established Gadget does not care about jurisdiction, and no car or boat is going to be able to outrun Gadget's helicopter hat. Dexter gets arrested. Veronica Mars! The residents of Neptune, California, and the students of Neptune I have their world totally rocked by not just one, but two pieces of breaking news. The first one being when famed Hollywood actor Aaron Eccles, father to Veronica's bully, evolving friend, and eventual love interest Logan Eccles, suddenly goes missing while shooting a film in Miami. The residents of Neptune and the Hollywood press are then again completely shocked when parts of Aaron Eccles' body is found among the Bay Harbor butcher victims, which by the time it reaches the national news, which is the only way Veronica could hear about it on the other side of the country, the press are already correlating the butcher's victims with known murderers. And as you can imagine, this has quite the dramatic effect on both Veronica and Logan's life. If he hasn't already, Logan will now be a bit more open about his father's abusive nature. And this, in combination with the Bay Harbor Butcher news story, will ring Veronica's alarm bells about Aaron Eccles' possible connection to Lily Kane's murder, compelling Well, to get to the bottom of this herself, Veronica practically begs her father to take them both to Miami. And when her father says hell no, Veronica eventually just decides to ditch high school and go there herself. Well, you can't blame her for having the right attitude, but unfortunately for her, Veronica will quickly find that she is completely out of her league here. Though Veronica Mars has solved murders before, she is by no means a homicide detective. The vast majority of crimes Veronica solves are usually cases of corruption, sexual assault, or social inequality. Additionally, Dexter and Veronica Mars were airing at the same time, so in this time frame, Veronica is still very much a high school student, so no one at Miami Metro is going to take her seriously. Even with a detective's license, the Bay Harbor Butcher case is a massive active crime investigation of which Veronica will be a complete outsider to. She has no access whatsoever to the bodies, the crime board, the evidence, or even the crime scenes. Basically everywhere Dexter already has access to. Veronica has a thing for corrupt police officials, so maybe her instincts or natural distrust of authority will lead her to look for suspects related to law enforcement, but even if she does pursue this theory on her own, she doesn't really have any leads at her disposal to go on. Unless she wants to hack into Miami Metro's computers, which would be highly illegal, and she's not going to find anything on there anyway, because Dexter always deletes or deflects anything that would incriminate himself before anyone can get their eyes on it. Unfortunately, there's just not really anything for Veronica to investigate. It's very unlikely Veronica meets Dexter face to face even once. And if she does, it will be by complete chance, and it's very unlikely she gets enough of a creepy vibe to give Dexter a second look. Veronica was a big fish in her small pond of a town, Neptune, but Miami is a much, much bigger pond, and there are sharks in these waters. Dexter gets away. Jason Bourne! I will be completely upfront about this. Jason Bourne and Dexter Morgan are two of my favorite literary character adaptations of all time. And there's nothing I would like more than to write a long and dangerous game of cat and mouse between the two of them where Dexter somehow gets tangled up in the Treadstone conspiracy. But as fun as that would be, I do have to be honest with myself in that, given the lives these two characters have lived and the locations they travel, there just simply is no feasible way possible for the Jason Bourne we love and know to ever cross paths with the Bay Harbor Butcher. The Jason Bourne we know really began his new life after he lost all his memories after getting shot in a botched assassination mission on a yacht off the coast somewhere in the Mediterranean Sea. From here, he slowly pieces his scattered memories and parts of his dangerous past back together by retracing his footsteps across Europe and parts of Asia. Bourne's journey of self-discovery has him going from the Mediterranean Sea, Italy, Switzerland, France, Greece, India, Germany, and Russia. But he only travels back to the United States specifically to confront the people who trained him. And once this confrontation is resolved, Bourne never returns to the United States again. And for good reason. Jason Bourne is the very definition of an expatriate. Due to the inhumane experimental training he received, the cruel things they made him do during his service, and the resulting trauma from both, Jason Bourne is completely disillusioned with his country and his government. And not only that, but because of the way he deserted a highly classified clandestine operation on the DoD's black books, he is always being actively hunted by powerfully influential forces within the US government at all times, both because of the knowledge he possesses and the danger his skills poses. He is, after all, as Conklin so bluntly put it, a malfunctioning $30 million weapon. For reasons both personal and professional, Jason Bourne is inherently unsafe anywhere in the United States. There is no place in the United States the Jason Bourne we know could ever comfortably lie low, especially in such a massively populated and actively surveilled American population center like Miami, Florida. The only American cities we know Bourne has visited after his amnesia event were New York, Las Vegas, and a very brief stay in Washington and Virginia. Each of these places are literally 1,000 miles away from Dexter's hunting ground in Miami. So there really isn't any opportunity here for Dexter and Jason to just bump into each other. At least, not Jason Bourne expatriate. But David Webb, fanatic Treadstone asset, now that's a different story.
Tonight's the night.
Dexter says, going about his business as usual in Miami, stalking his latest target, some kind of shady foreign national character with a murderous past. Maybe this blind Haitian guy, for example. And everything seems to be going perfectly fine until the unthinkable happens. Someone is already there trying to kill his target before he is. And in a moment of confusion, Dexter gets made, and a fight ensues almost exactly the way it did when Oscar Prado and Dexter bump into each other while trying to kill Freebo in Season 3. This fight, though, is nothing like the fight with Oscar. The most Dexter loses in that fight is a tooth and his pride in having been forced to kill someone he didn't fully vet yet. But this fight, Dexter gets his ass kicked. The jujitsu helps, but whatever Dexter knows, this guy knows too, and he knows a hell of a lot more on top of it. This is, without a doubt, the fight of Dexter's life, and there's no way he's not walking away from this without some broken bones and serious injuries. But Dexter is not a helpless fighter, and he also has the element of surprise on his side of a tranquilizer needle primed and ready to go on his person, so by the skin of his teeth, Dexter turns the fight around on whoever this mysterious assailant is and kills him during the adrenaline rush. Just like the Freebo situation, Dexter is totally freaked out here. But he's got at least one dead body he wasn't accounting for on his hands, no time, and he's badly injured. So Dexter gets to work to clean up as much as he can, as fast as he can, to get out of there, dispose of the evidence, and figure out the situation later. Dexter doesn't know it yet, but Dexter has just unknowingly killed a Treadstone asset in the line of duty. He has no idea that at the same time he's stuffing limbs into trash bags, voices are screaming into earpieces, and analysts in a dark room somewhere are furiously typing on computers to figure out what the hell just happened. And unfortunately for Dexter, it doesn't take them very long. Like I said, there's a very good reason Jason Bourne stayed out of the US after his amnesia event, because it probably takes the Treadstone analysts who are monitoring the other side of the now botched mission less than an hour to track traffic camera footage of the surrounding area for Dexter's vehicle. And as soon as they have a license plate number and a name, Conklin orders a full workup of Dexter's entire history and background, and he wants it done now, and he gets it pretty damn fast. Unfortunately for Dexter, this is probably the most powerful investigative power Dexter has ever come across within the realm of grounded reality. An entire team of experienced Black Ops CIA field analysts work overnight with unlimited digital access and authority of records of any kind due to their extremely high security clearance and means of obtaining anything they want in the name of national security. Before the sun rises and Dexter has even come home to dock his boat, Conklin knows who the Bay Harbor Butcher is, what he is, and even why he is. He knows about the Moser family, the connection to Harry, the troubles Harry had in his career, the medical report about his overdose, his psychological profile, Dexter's psychological profile, and if they find the Vogel connection, then they have her records too. And then he knows about Dexter's childhood urges, the dark passenger, and even the code. The next morning when Dexter and Deborah turn in for work, he probably sends a team over to work over the apartment, finds the blood slides, has them analyzed, categorized, and traced in hours what took Lundy days and weeks to do. The moment his asset goes offline, within 12 hours, Conklin knows everything. It's at this moment Conklin has to make a very difficult and very delicate choice of action. Believe it or not, Conklin is in a pretty bad position here. Even under the safety and authority that the Patriot Act gives him, he well knows that an off-book DoD operation like his operates on a tight leash held by very powerful hands under shadowy tables. And he knew he was pushing his luck going after a priority target on American soil. But now that he's caused a situation where an agency asset is now dead at the hands of an American citizen with no connection to any known hostile forces whatsoever, Conklin's got a serious problem. Don't get me wrong, Dexter is in deep doo-doo. But if Conklin doesn't handle this situation delicately, Conklin is in trouble too from his superiors. He has one of two ways to make this situation go away like it never happened, and both have tremendous yet equal risk. So in desperation, Conklin flips a coin, and it decides Dexter's fate. Heads it is. Sometimes the simplest solutions are the best. And whenever you need something simple done without anyone ever knowing about it, Conklin knows exactly the guy to call. His head guy, in fact. former Army Captain and Delta Force operative David Webb, or otherwise now formerly known as Jason Bourne, Treadstone asset. Jason Bourne is dispatched to Miami, and his approach is cold, effective, and methodical. It's important to note here, this is pre-amnesia Bourne we're talking about here, who, unlike his post-amnesia self who actually grew a conscience, is completely ruthless. This Jason Bourne might have some slight degree of moral code, as obviously it was the prospect of being forced into a situation that would have made him have to kill children that made him snap out of his mental conditioning and abandon his mission, leading to the events of the films, but this is the same guy that made a split-second decision to turn what looked like a planned overdose into a murder-suicide, killing an innocent woman to cover his tracks with zero hesitation and seemingly very little remorse. Yeah, pre-amnesia Bourne is not a good guy. Even Dexter isn't that cold. And unfortunately, the way Bourne killed Nesky seems pretty ideal in the way he would approach killing Dexter here too. With all the intel Treadstone has already gathered on his target, Bourne wastes no time at all and breaks into Dexter's apartment to make it look like a suicide. And if Deborah or Lila are there when he arrives, he kills them too, and makes it look like they died in a confrontation after discovering Dexter's blood slides and butcher tools. No remorse. Dexter dies. But what if Conklin's coin had landed on tails instead of heads? See this guy? This is Dr. Albert Hirsch, the guy that waterboarded, sleep-deprived, and essentially tortured David Webb in order to psychologically condition him into Jason Bourne. Dexter's psychological profile is this guy's wet dream! Are you kidding me? Dexter was born for this program! Just because Dexter has to disappear doesn't mean he has to die. Conklin officially reaches out and offers Dexter the choice of either incarceration or recruitment. And I don't think it's hard to imagine which option would appeal more to the dark passenger. Dexter Morgan officially dies in a boating accident where his body is never found, and Dexter Moser is officially inducted into the Treadstone program. And so we have reached the end of Part 4, as well as the end of our first Dexter Versus video of 2026. Yes, that's right, we're back after our short January break. Or half of January, anyways. It usually takes me 3 to 4 weeks to make one of these big videos. But hopefully, the watch was worth the wait. Even if we only had 3 detectives in this video, I did spend quite a bit of time and research on each of them. I had never even seen an episode of Veronica Mars before writing this video, so hopefully I did right by you Veronica Mars fans out there, and you're not too mad that Dexter just kind of slips away under her radar. And speaking of things that took a surprising amount of research, we've now officially reached the end of our last detective poll results with the wrapping up of Inspector Gadget and previously Benoit Blanc. Which means it is now time for the next round of Dexter vs. Detective polls, starting with round 3. As per your suggestions, your poll choices are Charlie Cale from Poker Face, Patrick Jane from The Mentalist, Jessica Jones from Jessica Jones, and the Brooklyn Nine-Nine crew. If you haven't seen or voted on this poll yet, it should be available in the post section of my channel page. And you can vote there for which of these detectives you want to see next, as well as make suggestions for who you want to see in the next poll. And while you're on my channel page, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any more content that's coming soon. And of course, as always, any super thanks or support you can provide to my Ko-Fi is most appreciated, as it's your support that helps me to continue producing content that, due to its nature, the YouTube algorithm doesn't always like, yet I'm still passionate about doing. So anything you can do to support that, even if it's just leaving a comment or sharing it with your friends or community, it makes all the difference in the world. Anyways, until next time, my dear viewers, I'm Phantom Savage! Good night and Godspeed!